Now in transfer function we know we have Laplace domain, means we have Laplace transforms. Let us see what is a Laplace transform. We know already Laplace transform, it's just a glance of the Laplace transforms. So if you have f of t is a time variable, then I can define the Laplace f of s as integral 0 to infinity f of t e power minus st dt. So this is a definition of your Laplace f of s function. Now f of t is a time domain, f of s is my Laplace domain. Now you can just look at the table, which is very useful for me, especially in time response and other topics. We will use this table. So what this table gives, I have f of t function and I have f of s function. So let us say first one is delta of t, which is impulse, then equivalent is 1. Then when I take the constant r, it is going to r by s. When I have the constant rt, it is r by s squared. So then like this, if you have e power minus at, I have 1 by s plus a, omega by s square plus omega square. We can look at the table, which is very important for us, especially when we are solving problems in time response and as well as steady state errors. Now, so here I have f of t functions and here I have equivalent f of s, Laplace equivalent of it. The first one I can take impulse, that is delta of t, the Laplace equivalent is 1. Then I have constant r, it is going to be r by s. I have rt, therefore the equivalent will be r by s square. I have t power n, therefore here n factorial by s power n plus 1. Then if you have sin omega t, it is omega by s square plus omega square, cos omega t s by s square plus omega square. Then time shifting e power minus at sin omega t, so it is omega by s plus a whole square plus omega square. Then e power minus at cos omega t, so we s plus a by s plus a whole square plus omega square. So this way we have list, and also we have let us say f dash of t, df of t by dt. Then I have f of s, s f of s minus f of 0, where f of 0 is the initial condition. Similarly, if you have integration of f of t, so you have f of s by s minus f of 0 by s. So not only this, we also have some theorems. We have basically 3 theorems which are useful for us from the Laplace transforms. The one is initial value theorem. So what is the initial value theorem? Then we can write it as limit t tends to 0, f of t we can write it as limit s tends to infinity s into f of s. Similarly, we have final value theorem, where limit t tends to infinity f of t we can write it as in Laplace limit s tends to 0 s into f of s. And also we have convolution theorem. So Laplace equivalent of f of Laplace inverse Laplace of f1 of s and f2 of s, we can write it as integral 0 to t f of t and f1 of t, f2 of t minus 2 and d2. So these are the formulas and the theorems useful for us to find the transfer function of the system. So let us take one example and see how can we model the transfer function. Now, so let us take one electrical system, and in this case I have resistance R and capacitor C which are connected in series, and input that is Vi and output is V0. So output is nothing but my capacitor voltage. So Vi of t input, and the current in this is I of t, and R, and I have C capacitor, and across the capacitor I have the output voltage V0 of t. Now, so what will be the transfer function for this? We know output is V0 and input is Vi. The transfer function is V0 of s by Vi of s. So there are 2 ways to do this. One is we can write KVL equation and we can convert into Laplace. Then we can write the ratio of V0 of s by Vi of s. The other way is we have resistance and capacitance equivalent Laplace circuit we can draw, and from that I can easily find out using the voltage division rule. Let us look at the second one. The Z impedance of R is R only, then Z impedance of your capacitor is 1 by Cs. Then when you apply the voltage division rule, your V0 of s by Vi of s is Z2 by Z1 plus Z2. So Z2 is 1 by Cs, Z1 is R plus 1 by Cs. Then if you simplify, you will be getting 1 by 1 plus RCS. Now, so when you look at the transfer function, it is 1 by 1 plus RCS. I can also write this as 1 by 1 plus ST, where T is the time constant of the system. So what is the significance of time constant? Time constant generally gives how fast system response reaches to the steady state value. So if the time constant is more, means it takes longer time to reach the steady state value. The time constant is very less, means the system is very fast, so immediately it goes to the steady state value, which is the time constant. And for this system, the time constant is RC. Now, so I'm going to redraw this network and let us see what happens. Means in place of R, I'm going to take the capacitor C. In place of C, I'm going to take the resistor. Now let us find what will be the transfer function. The input is Vi only, output is V0 only. Now V0 of S by Vi of S, you can write it as again Z2 by Z1 plus Z2, where we have Z2 is your resistance R divided by Z1 is 1 by Cs plus R. And if you find the transfer function, you will be getting you have RCS by 1 plus RCS. Then again we can write here the denominator is 1 plus ST only. So when you observe these two transfer functions, the first case it is 1 by 1 plus RCS, second case it is RCS by 1 plus RCS. So the denominator of these two circuits or these two networks is same, which means if you look at the elements of the circuit is same only. The network wise there is no change. Only we are changing the input and output. We are giving the input here and we are giving the input here for the second one. And we are taking the output here, we are taking the output here for the second one. So therefore we are just changing the input output. We are not changing the system components. Therefore only we are getting the same denominator in the first case and the same denominator in the second case. So 1 plus RCS in the denominator in this case, 1 plus RCS denominator in the other case. Therefore, in a given system, if components are not changed for a given components, and even if you change the input and output, then the denominator of the system will be same only, which means all the information of system components will reside inside the denominator of the system. Therefore, in transfer function, denominator play role is very important. So it plays vital role in analysis as well as the design of the control systems. Now, so when you take the denominator, when equate it to 0, we can find the roots of it. The roots of the denominator of the transfer function are called poles of the system. Similarly, if in second case I have RCS. So for example, if I have a transfer function like S plus 1 by S plus 2. So the roots of the numerator are called zeros of the system. For the example which I have taken, S plus 1 by S plus 2, S is equal to minus 1 is the 0, S is equal to minus 2 is the pole. So roots of denominator are poles of the system and the roots of the numerator are zeros of the system. So from the two examples I can say the zeros may vary. When you change the input and output combinations, zeros may vary, but your poles are going to be same. Therefore, poles are very important for analysis of the system. Depending upon the pole locations only, we are going to investigate the stability of the system. Now, again, when I take the pole, I am taking the transfer function, the first system transfer function 1 by 1 plus RCS. Then when equate it to 0, what will be the S? Minus 1 by RC. The location of the pole is minus 1 by RC. So what is the time constant? RC. Now I have the relation between these two. What is the pole and time constant? So magnitude wise, pole and time constants are reciprocal each other, right? So we have a pole is at minus 1 by RC, but time constant is a physical parameter, so you cannot have the negative value for that. Therefore the time constant is only RC. So magnitude wise they are reciprocal each other. Now, so second case also same thing, that your pole and time constant are reciprocal each other. For any system, your poles and time constants are reciprocal each other. Let us say there is a one pole at origin, then what will be the time constant? It is infinity. So pole at origin we can call it as an infinite pole because its a time constant is going to be infinite. Mathematically we can define the pole as So pole is a value of S at which the function value goes to infinity. Similarly, 0 is a value of S at which the function value goes to 0. So when you try to look at the responses on S plane, then the function value immediately goes to infinity. That means there is one discontinuity. Or the function value immediately goes to 0. So you will have some discontinuities at poles and 0. Therefore, the poles and 0 locations are also called singular points of the system. Now, so we can locate these poles on zeros and poles in S plane. What is basically S plane? S plane is a complex plane like this. Now I have two axes, x axis, y axis. X axis called the real axis, y axis called imaginary axis. This is the origin. From towards the left it is minus infinity, the other side we have plus infinity, real values. And if you have downwards, we have minus infinity, minus j infinity, which means it is an imaginary which is going to infinity. This is plus j infinity, which is to have a positive infinity. Now this is a purely real axis, this is purely imaginary, and all of the remaining plane is called the complex plane. Wherever you have the point, let us say I have the point here minus a plus jb, minus a minus jb. So this way we can represent the poles, locate the poles and zeros. Now, if you have the transfer function 1 by 1 plus RCS, then the pole location is here, S is equal minus 1 by RCS. Then the second case RCS by 1 plus RCS, then again we have the pole at minus 1 by RCS, but there is 0, S is equal to 0. Now S is equal to 0, I have 0 and I have pole. So this way we can locate the poles and zeros of the system on S plane.